All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now, I have done 2 videos back to back about Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, and I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this is by far the most interesting fight. Okay, so people were breaking my balls for a long time. They're like, this is just the channel that talks about Khabib and Conor. It's just like the Conor and Khabib channel. I mean, jeez. And I would imagine they're like, well, what do you guys think that I would do if Khabib retired and Conor lost? They're all, probably just cancel your channel, right? Well, I mean, probably cancel your channel. Nah, dog. Nah, dog. Okay? What I focus on are fights that have narrative. They have a reason to be compelling, okay? And the most, number one, for sure, most compelling matchup that we can have right now is Francis versus Jon, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, before I do that, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Sounds like a song, but it's actually instructions, son. If you like this content, which means if you watch the video and you're like, God damn, this motherfucker knows his shit, or this guy's got a weird way of looking at things, keeping me all engaged and shit, then subscribe and then you ring the bell so you get notified. And also comment, just push the algorithm, tell the algorithm that I'm the best, Anyway, so let's talk about this thing though, because in my opinion, there is no more compelling matchup. There's none. I mean none. I'm saying, like, you could put together GSP versus Khabib. I would be less engaged. I would be less excited about that fight than I would about Jon Jones and Francis. Oh, I'm sorry, what? Did you say Khabib versus GSP would be an inferior matchup? Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you why. I know what's going to happen in that fight. Khabib's going to beat the shit out of GSP. Okay? GSP when he's 32, maybe a different story. Right now, come on, you know? But in the Jon Jones versus Francis fight, I mean, listen, I would bet on Francis for sure, but here's the reason that the fight is so compelling, okay? Actually, before I even do that, let's talk about what other fights would be super compelling, right? If DC came out of retirement to fight Jon Jones one more time, now that would be compelling because of the backstory, the fucking backstory. These guys hate each other. Can DC do it? Can he go? Can he float out into retirement on the biggest win of his career? You know, that type of deal, right? You know, even like if Conor ran through 2 opponents and then fought Khabib, maybe, but Conor would have to like rattle some wins, man. Like if he just beats DP and then he goes and fights Khabib, nah. Okay, the reason why the Jon Jones fight is so compelling is because why do people think they know so well what's going to happen, right? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because in the last 2-3 performances, Jon Jones has looked kind of lackluster, right? I mean, he looked awesome against Gustafsson, but Gustafsson has lost since then, so it's not really a very notable win. It's not like the first time around, which he didn't even train for, but it's neither here nor there. And then you got Thiago Santos, who folded his knee in half in the first round and then lost a split decision to Jon Jones. And then you got Dominic Reyes, where people thought Jon Jones lost. I watched the fight again. I don't think he lost. It was close. It was insanely close. But here's the deal, man. So people are like, what is he gonna do? What's he gonna do against Francis if he's having trouble with Thiago Santos? Answer, okay? That's not the Jon Jones you're gonna see. You gotta keep in mind, man, this dude, and this is why I love this shit. Like, this is the exact kind of situation I love. Because it's not just about X's and O's. It's not just about, well, he's got long legs and he can really hit you from far away. You know? He's like a spider. He's like a spider. Okay? This is the thing that interests me. No, why would Jon Jones be motivated to fight those guys? Okay, do you guys understand how different it is to be motivated, like to go into an event of any kind, okay, whether it's golfing, fighting, baseball, whatever, where you have you are like, okay, in 2 months, this is the fucking event of my life. I'm going to do nothing but focus. And you just sit there and at night, headphones on, and you close your eyes and you visualize how you're going to perform. And then you don't think about anything else except that going into the event. Versus, okay, so what, Dominic Reyes in 2 months? And you look at his fights, you're like, I'm going to eat this guy alive. And then you just don't, you don't train hard. No one's even challenged you. So you're bored. You're literally fighting for the light heavyweight title and you're bored. Training, you're bored. Fighting, you're bored. Right? Like everyone sees this as like, oh wow, those fights are really close. I see them as like Jon Jones is doing the minimum amount to win because he's fucking bored. He goes in against Francis. It's the fight of his life. You're going to get to see the seasoned version of Jon Jones, one of the most high fight IQ versions of a fighter of all time. He's huge against the most dangerous fighter in the history of the octagon, right? There's nothing more compelling than that matchup. So no, I don't care about Derek. I mean, you know, I'll be excited to watch Derek Lewis fight Francis, but not like this. Not like a John Jones versus Francis matchup, man. Like a motivated, truly motivated, undefeated John Jones moving up to heavyweight, fighting for, come on, man. I mean, come on. By the way, time for some comeuppance for these motherfuckers up in my comments running their mouth. Let me just say this, actually. So the last two videos I did were had very, very good feedback. Everyone was very happy with the last two videos. I appreciate your guys' kind words. The very few people who were negative, all of them said the same thing. They're all, bro, you are it was on the one that I said Francis is now collaborating with John Jones because Francis turned down the Derek Lewis fight. And they're like, dude, you're reaching on this one. He's not collaborating with John Jones. Okay, first of all, I wasn't saying he's like talking to John Jones. He's like, hey, John, so let's collaborate. That's really good Francis impression. I'm saying that he wants the John Jones fight. John Jones wants the Francis fight. And so they're inadvertently collaborating because he's like, no, I'm not going to take the Derek Lewis fight because he wants the John Jones fight, right? And everyone was all, no, dude, the timing just didn't work out, dude. Did you not read the article? It just said he doesn't want to fight till August, so the timing didn't work out. I'm like, yeah, that's what he said to Dana. Like, you're telling me that if he gets the John Jones fight in June, he's not taking it? That's what you really believe that? Or do you think that he's like, nah, I want John Jones, not Derek Lewis, so I'm going to say no, and I'm going to let them continue to negotiate and work it out. You think Dana doesn't know? Dana, here, I have a whole other aspect of this video, and I'm going to edit this to put it at the front so that you guys understand that this is coming at the end, okay? Because I just remembered that I needed to do this video, okay? So what's going on in the John Jones negotiation? I am so glad I remembered this. What's going on in the John Jones negotiation is very, very meaningful and should be used as a blueprint of what not to do in an additional aspect than what I talked about in my previous videos. I'm going to tell you what that is right now. Do not ever turn a negotiation into an ego trip with Dana. You won't get the outcome you want. I mean, you might end up getting what you're asking for. It's going to be way more painful. Listen, did Conor get paid? Yes, right? Did Khabib get paid? Yes. Okay, did either of those guys, did it seem like the negotiations with those guys seemed a little easier with UFC and Dana than John Jones has? Now, obviously, those guys are bigger draws than John Jones. I actually don't think that's even necessarily true in this fight. Okay, I think Dana and the UFC are underestimating how big of a fight this will be. That's neither here nor there. But the bottom line is, Conor got paid, and he never had a bad relationship with Dana. Never. Okay, they got into some shit this last year, but in my opinion, that's because Conor wanted to fight, and I think that his deal negated their ability to put on an event without the crowds, without losing money. I honestly, I think Conor makes that much money that they're like, without the crowd, I'm not sure if we can make real money. Like, we don't want to waste a Conor fight. The risk is too big, right? Like, think about it like this. If they put on an event, right? Normally when they put on an event with Conor, they make enormous money, even with the amount they pay him. But that's hinging on Conor being a huge draw. So if they put on a fight during the pandemic, minus the $20 million they make at the gate, right? And then Conor loses. Do you understand the financial impact of that? Like, if Conor's star dims, it's not worth the risk. That's why they were trying to phase him out and not let him fight during the pandemic. And Conor was freaking out because he wanted to fight so much. It's because they're like, the risk reward was not good, right? But nonetheless, okay, John Jones is a much bigger draw for this fight than they're giving him credit for. But Conor got paid, Khabib got paid, these guys got paid without the public drama. And that's, I believe, at least partially because they didn't go to war with Dana. Dude, this is what I'm saying. When I say Dana's my hero, I'm not just talking about oh, he's rich. I'm saying he has handled himself like such a fucking boss. Dude, he created the entire sport, okay? Like, yeah, the sport existed, but it didn't exist as a business. He fought all the battles to make it into a multi-billion-dollar business, okay? And he did it being himself. And now he's the fucking man, son. Like, Dana, I'll look directly in the camera and just say it. Dana's the fucking man, dude. And you have to respect that because he knows it. Okay, he knows it and he earned it, dude. He fucking earned it. So like, you have to learn that you like when you're trying to negotiate or trying to sell something to someone, which ultimately a negotiation is you selling your side of the, you know, of the situation. You have to think empathetically. Think about the person that you're trying to sell to and think about their decision process, okay? Khabib, incredibly respectful, right? He's always been quiet, respectful, and he goes and he does what he can do. If he was going to negotiate, he would have done it quietly, okay? He would have done it quietly because he would have seen it as disrespectful to do it loud. Conor is brash and crazy, but he's a human genius. He's a genius with people. And he understood that a way to make sure you don't get an outcome that you want is to personally single Dana out. You can only hurt your situation if you get Dana to get a hard on for you. And you want to know why? Because he's the fucking man, okay? Remember that guy Bobby in season 1? Like, you remember when Bobby season 1 where he lost a decision and then he went back and Dana went backstage to talk to him, and Dana's basically saying like, dude, you're still going to be in the UFC. And he was like, just leave me alone, Dana. Don't fucking talk to me, Dana. And Dana's like, dude, if you want to be in the UFC, like, I'm your guy. And he was all, just leave me the fuck alone. And did you ever see him in the UFC? Never. He's the only fighter from Ultimate Fighter season 1 that never made it onto the Ultimate Fighter, like never made it into the UFC. Never. And you know why? Because he insulted Dana. Okay? Dana's the fucking man, dude. You can't. And I know people in the comments are going to be like, fuck Dana. Burp. And I'm telling you, you can say whatever you want. It doesn't change the fact that Dana's the fucking man. He is that, like, by definition. Look up the man in the dictionary and then say, you know, in parentheses, mixed martial arts. There's a fucking picture of Dana. There is not another picture of any person. Who's the man in MMA? Dana, period. Okay? So getting Dana to get a hard on for you and putting him in a position where paying you is him submitting to you is just dumb. It's just not a good strategy, man. Did you ever see Ali Abdelaziz say anything negative about Dana? Of course not, dude. Because Ali Abdelaziz is a brilliant negotiator, a brilliant manager of people, okay? It's not a good strategy. Don't get into it with Dana. You could say shit about the UFC. Like, you can say it's not fair. You could do what Masvidal did. You know, Colby did the Dana thing, but that, I honestly think part of that, Dana and him were in on it together. I really believe that, dude. Like, I think Colby, so much of this shit is manufactured. Where like Colby has good relationships behind the scenes and then pretends, not with like Kamaru Usman and shit, but like Masvidal, he called out that's about as close to the edge as you can get. Where I'm like, okay, there's still a good way of doing it, but he specifically never called Dana out. Never. He called out UFC. He exposed some of the numbers, but he never call out Dana. John directly calls out Dana, and he goes, "Oh, Dana hates me," and "Oh, Dana." And I'm like, dude. That is mend that fence, man. He has your entire career in his fucking hands. I know you have enough money, you don't need to fight, but you can only hurt yourself. Like, set the ego down, dude. And because here's the thing, you want to know what my ego's tied to? The ability to recognize that kind of thing and then build a good relationship regardless of the backstory. Like, that's what I would think is gangster. Like, for me, I'm like, you have to be able to at least like understand the fucking chessboard. And if you can't see this fucking guy's the man, then you're blind and you're lying to yourself. I'm the fucking man. No, you're not. Okay? You're not in this equation. If you're a fighter in the UFC, that's the fucking man. And so recognizing that and then positioning yourself in a way where he likes you, he wants to do right by you, and you have a good relationship with him, that's the gangster shit. Not saying fuck you on Twitter. That's just dumb. That's just bad business. It's just bad business. And it's bad strategy, you know? Like, you're only hurting yourself. Okay, I'll give you another example like that, okay? So my wife, very serious about the government not telling you what to do as it relates to your kids. Like, as an example, mandating vaccinations for your kids. Okay, we're literally moving to Texas because she feels that strongly about it. Okay, it's not like I get flu shots every year. It's not like, we're not like fucking anti-vaxxers. But she is not down with the government telling her that you have to vaccinate your kids. She's just not down with it at all. So when it came to the coronavirus vaccine, she's like, I won't get it. And I was like, I mean, it's your choice. Do whatever you want. And then they were talking about vaccine passports. And I was like, you got to understand, like, if they actually did that, you just get the vaccine because you're not going to be able to travel otherwise. And she's all, I'll still never get it. I was like, you'll still never get it. She's all, I won't get it. Fuck that. And I was like, Gabby, you won't be able to travel. Like, you have to understand when you're beat, dude. Like, if they actually pass that as a law, you're beat, man. Like, you got to get the shots. We're not just never traveling ever again so that you can, you know, make some statement about fucking medical autonomy or some shit, okay? Like, they won. She's like, no. I was like, have you ever heard the term cut your nose off to spite your face? Cut your nose off to spite your face? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, this is exactly what that's about, okay? No one else on earth gives a fuck whether you get the fucking vaccine, okay? You're only hurting yourself. You're literally cutting off your nose to spite your face, okay? Now, ultimately, Texas banned the vaccine passport, and so did Florida. So, you know, it's not going to be an issue, right? And I think Biden already said he's not going to do it. But the point I'm making is telling Dana to fuck himself and then saying shit to him on Twitter is cutting your nose off to spite your face, okay? Anyway, that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the fucking bell. I love you guys. Peace.